Hello and welcome to my Introduction to Swift series. This video is the first in the series and it's going to cover the basics of declaring variables and constants, specifying the types of those variables and constants, and adding comments to your code to explain to other programmers what you intend the code to do. All right, so let's just jump right in. To declare a variable in Swift, you use the keyword var, followed by the name of the variable. I'm going to write greeting. And then you assign a variable using the equals sign. And in this case, I'm going to write the string hello world. Okay, easy enough. I can then change the value of this variable to something like hello Bob, and Swift won't have any problems with it at all. All right, so that's a simple variable. So let's move on to constants. Constants use the same exact format, but instead they use the keyword let, followed by the name. I'm going to use max, and I'm going to give it a value of 10. Okay, so now if I try and change the value of max, the compiler will complain and say, no, you can't do that, so don't try. All right. That's all you really need to know about creating variables and constants to get started. You can specify the types of variables by adding a colon after the name. In this case, I'm going to write string. This lets Swift know that it's using the Swift type of string and not the old Objective-C style string, which we could still use if we type ns string. It provides a different set of functions. But we really do want this to be a string, so we spell it out for the compiler. We can also do this for constants. In this case, we can write int, which is the default, or you can write unsigned int, uint, or uint32 if we wanted a 32-bit unsigned integer. You don't really need to know that for most things, but it's good to have it on hand if you need to convince the compiler that you're using the right kind of integer. Okay, and that's all we're going to cover on the types for now. There's a lot more to it, but that's all we're going to do in this video. Okay, last but not least is comments. Comments are useful for a couple of things. First of all, explaining what's going on in your code when things are not at all clear. And the other is explaining or rather documenting the purpose of a function or class or file. I highly recommend that you use comments in your code when appropriate and when the code itself is unclear. Otherwise, your code should be clean and clear. So, a comment is created by writing 2 backslashes followed by the text you wish to write. Here, your explanation. So you can go on their own line. You can also go at the end of a line. It's also useful for getting rid of code you don't want to run, but don't want to delete entirely. The max constant here is no longer available. And now it is back. Right. So the second form of a comment is called a block comment, and that's created using a \* and ended with a *\. Now this allows you to write comments on multiple lines. They are, like as I said, most common at the top of a file and at the top of a function. We'll get into functions and classes and other things later, but they're most useful for documentation. So this is a multi-line comment. I do not recommend putting these in the middle of your code. It makes things very confusing and they can get ugly and out of hand very, very quickly. Keep them at the top of the file or at the beginning of a function to provide documentation. That is everything you need to know about creating and working with some of these variables and constants, as well as how to document your code. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.